California's Democratic Governor Gavin Newsom has signed a bill that makes changes to a controversial law. The state law leaves it up to a judge's discretion on whether or not to add individuals to the state's sex offender registry who have committed sodomy with minors. The bill was passed by the Democratic-controlled state legislature on Friday. Jonathan Keller with the California Family Council joins us with more on the legislation and reaction to it. Jonathan, tell us more about this bill so we have a better understanding of it.
Thanks for having me with you today. Yes, this is related to SB 145, that's Senate Bill 145. It was authored by State Senator Scott Wiener from the San Francisco area. He is also the chair of California's LGBT caucus. This bill was actually introduced in 2019, and it passed through the Assembly and the Senate fairly quickly, but then it hit a roadblock in the Assembly Appropriations Committee. In fact, the chairwoman of that committee, Lorena Gonzalez, a strong Democrat but also Catholic and a mother, raised significant concerns about the dangers of lowering any protections on prohibitions between adults and minors. As a result, she was able to actually stop this bill for 13 months. It arrived in her committee July 2019. It was finally forced out of the committee over her strenuous objections in August. And Governor Newsom, as you noted, just actually signed it into law last Friday, September 11th. Essentially, what this bill does is it actually lowers the mandatory requirements that an individual within 10 years of a minor who engages in sexual activity with someone is automatically placed on the state's sex offender registry. Now, already there were some would call it a loophole that allowed for judges to have the discretion if it was heterosexual encounters. In this case, as you mentioned, sodomy, oral sex, other types of activities are now subject to that same deference. To put it in plain terms, this means that a 24-year-old who seduces and engages in this type of sexual activity with a 14-year-old would no longer be required to immediately go on the sex offender registry.
I mean, why? Why would they want to do this? I mean, there's Democrats and Republicans speaking out against this. You know, I'm trying to find some sort of why behind why would any legislator want to do this?
Well, unfortunately, I think all of us in our lives have people who are members of the LGBT community that we're friends with. I think many of them would actually raise significant concerns about this bill as well. But unfortunately, I think in the state of California, the LGBT caucus is even out of step with most of the LGBT community. The way this bill was sold at every step along the way was equality. It was removing discrimination from LGBT young people, when in reality, I'm sorry, I don't care whether it is heterosexual, homosexual, binary, bisexual. I don't think that any 24-year-old should ever be having sexual interaction with a 14-year-old. That's just wrong.
Or a 15-year-old.
And it's not just me that says that.
You know,
well, you're right.
Anyway,
It's not just me that says that either. Again, Lorena Gonzalez, the chair of the Appropriations Committee, a strong Democrat, a pro-union, pro-LGBT Democrat. To quote her in her floor statement, she said, "Any sex is sex. I don't care who it is between or what the sex act is. Give me a situation where a 24-year-old had sex with a 14-year-old, any kind of sex, and it wasn't predatory. I have yet to see it."
Wow. Wow. Great quote. Well, what is your group and other pro-family groups doing to fight for children in this case?
Well, our website, californiafamily.org, has a lot of resources and information about this bill. We were strongly urging the governor to veto it. Frankly, we were a little shocked and disappointed, even in the state of California, that Governor Newsom was so quick to sign this bill, especially because it passed literally by one single vote in the Assembly. The bare minimum, 41 votes out of 80 votes. Even a large number of Democrats refused to put their name behind this legislation. So this is probably going to be a good opportunity for Californians to educate themselves on who voted for this bill so that when they go to the polls in November, they can stand with people who actually support their values instead of those of the radical LGBT caucus here in California.
Absolutely. Jonathan Keller, thanks for breaking down a difficult subject for us today. We appreciate it. And thanks for your time.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.